Okay, get back to the nuts and bolts of the whole procedure. Can you, for the benefit of any young people that are perhaps wanting to be directors, can you take me through the whole rehearsal process briefly, and tell me how you feel that a director really can influence a piece?
I think for too long there was a cult of the director, where somehow or another the director was the most important person in the equation. The director is, I believe, actually one of the less important people in the equation. The most important person in the equation is the writer, because without the play you're going nowhere. And if the play is a good play, you can do what you like with it, it won't make any difference. The next most important people in the equation are actually the actors, because they're the ones who present the play to the public. They bring it before them, they're either effective doing that or they are not. The director is, and in the proper sense of the word, is the facilitator. They help to ease the process. They help to make sure that there's a proper connection between what is written and how it is played. So their job is to, first of all, seek clarity. Secondly, try and ensure that that the actors understand how to bring that forward. Secondly, make sure there's a healthy atmosphere in the room so people can work and you minimise tensions. Thirdly, to deal with any specific technical or practical hurdles that arise in the simple mechanics of putting it together. And the question of the director's vision is a dodgy one. The director's vision should be to ensure they understand the play and try and realise the play. If the director has a vision that they want to put a spin on a play, they need to think carefully about exactly why they're doing that. I'm not saying they can't do it or it shouldn't be done, but I think you need to think very carefully about, is there a proper point to it? Because sometimes I think the director can actually get in the way of the play rather than benefiting.
You talk about the importance of the actors in any play. So how do you actually go about casting?
It's one of the hardest areas, and I listen a lot to Mary for starters, because she will have ideas as to who she thinks she might like to have in her play.
Sorry to interrupt, would that be something that's because of your relationship with Mary, or is that something that any director should do?
I think you should. I mean, if the writer has thoughts or ideas on that, I think you should definitely consider those. I mean, I don't think you should sort of like assume, oh well, this is my job and the writer doesn't need to interfere or know anything about it. I mean, certainly if the writer's there, why not talk to them about these things? I think discussion among not just yourself and the writer, but among a number of you is often beneficial. I would sometimes, not without necessarily referring to why I'm doing it, ask somebody's opinion about an actor or a suitability of an actor for a certain type of part or whatever. It's very difficult. Some roles you kind of know, well, I know the right person for that. Somebody who seems, in terms of their age, style, manner, they fit absolutely into the role. Somebody who perhaps from their life experience they will absolutely understand the role. Then there's other cases where it's a much harder role to make a judgment on, and you don't necessarily know anybody out there who you automatically would seem to fit the bill. And then you have to operate on hunch, and sometimes you might have 3 or 4 hunches, and at some point you have to say, well, I'll back that one. And there's a degree to which you're sitting there thinking, I hope to God I'm right. And until you get into the rehearsal room and get through it some distance, you don't necessarily know. Perhaps until you get in front of the audience, you don't necessarily know. But sometimes, unfortunately, you get it wrong, and it's always much harder if you get it wrong. It's not just hard for you or for the play. It's hard for the person who has been unlucky enough to be miscast, because they didn't set out to be, they just unfortunately became so, So it is a tough one.
Well, in terms of making tough decisions and creating potentially tough situations, the young boy in this piece is being played by your son, Matthew. So do you foresee any potential difficulties with that, or? Well,
he said to me, as you would imagine he might, he says, the trouble is, he says, when I do this, everybody says a case of nepotism, but the bottom line is, he's actually perfect for it. This is one of these cases where you say, do you know somebody who's right for the role? And as far as I'm concerned, he's perfect for it. I think in terms of his growing up and his experience, he knows the type of kid this is. I think he's knocked around with a few of them in his time. He's got a good raw edge about him. He's got a good energy about him. he looks right. I have absolutely no problems with him playing it. I'm convinced he's the right person to play it, and I think if I'd gone trekking all over wherever, I would have ended up sort of picking him anyway. I guess the big problem with directing him is that I'm his father and he's my son, and whether we like it or not, it's going to end up sometimes, oh God, you're being a dad, and I'll be saying, oh God, you're being a son, you know. So we'll try and avoid that if we can, but it's probably going to turn up from time to time. I guess I hopefully do as I would with anybody else, and that is wait and see what they bring to me, and then try and make sure that it's properly focused, you know, and try and concentrate if possible, as I think you always have to as a director. At certain points you have to concentrate on the individual, but the primary thing you have to concentrate on is not this individual or that individual, but what happens between them. You know, that's where the success of most drama lies. So with a bit of luck, you're not, you know, hitting specifically on a person, you're hitting on a moment, which is a relative